You're listening to UCW Radio. In your face.
What we got here is a failure to communicate.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
For lack of a better word, it's good.
You know what I mean?
Money to be made in a place like this.
Money never sleeps, pal.
You're crazy.
You know what it takes to sell real estate?
It takes brass balls.
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
Hey!
All right, welcome to Money Never Sleeps, and it's an interesting show we're going to have today because we're in the middle of a hurricane. But, as the saying goes, the show must go on. So I apologize for my audience, which is probably not the best world at this point. But we have some great guests that are lined up for the show. And, the New York Stock Exchange was closed today. We'll also be closed tomorrow because this is a situation that we're dealing with. The seaboard, storm is actually, as we're speaking, is actually making landfall in Atlantic City. All right, so it's hitting the eastern seaboard going throughout. All right, but that's not going to stop the business. All right, we have our first great guest coming to us from the great state of Texas. His name is Brian Emerson, and he is one of the managing partners of Starlight Investments. So help me in welcoming Brian to the show. Brian, are you with me?
Hey, Louis. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Wow, what a powerful show you're doing in the middle of a hurricane. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's a little bit crazy. You know, I thought about it, and I said, well, we have to do it because we have listeners that are not just in New York, but throughout the world that'll be tuning in. So it wouldn't be fair to them to not do the show.
Well, that's great. Well, we certainly get our share of hurricanes here in Houston, so I can certainly understand what you're going through, so please be safe.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. So, Brian, why don't you let us know a little bit about Starlight Investments? Because before we go into that, as we know, and I mentioned it a minute ago, that the New York Stock Exchange was closed today, will be closed tomorrow. So a lot of companies are actually holding back on announcing their earnings because they don't want to do it with the markets closed, especially if they're powerful earnings. So with that said, but let our listeners know a little bit more about Starlight so that they can get a handle on it.
Sure. Thanks, Louis, so much. Starlight Investment is a little FINRA registered broker-dealer. We're an M&A advisory shop. I started the firm in 2000, and we primarily dealt with energy clients in the Southwest, but certainly get all over the country and have a variety of early-stage clients, both private and micro-cap public companies. And, Louis, we've seen, from 2000 to about 2008, a lot of strong growth in the economy and the markets. Things were going great. We had, kind of a fall off, as I think a lot of people noticed over the last few years. Compliance costs have gone up. Some of the Dodd-Frank and other things that have been passed have added some uncertainty in the market. So there's not only money on the sidelines, but I think people are concerned about, all the money being printed and how that book's going to end. So, that's kind of the quick background of how we look at things, and hopefully we'll get through this election in the next 4 years okay.
Well, I think that's the big thing now, in an election year. A lot of things are happening, and as you know, Brian, the past 4 years have been less than fun. Okay, but opportunities do arise. Going into, if Obama is reelected or whether Romney comes in and he's our new president, either way, I don't know how much of an impact either one would make on the market conditions. Romney comes in, market bounces up a little bit. Obama comes in, market may come down a little bit. But long term, what's best for the economy? What's best for small business? What's best for this business? I think a lot of these questions come up, and in my opinion, as I'm sitting here talking to you in the storm, these are the things that I think about.
Right. It seems to me as though there's some fear among early stage investors. I've seen a lot of people go more towards commodities, gold, silver, try to get some of their assets, related to oil in some ways. Real estate, farmland has been going up a lot. So, hopefully we're going to get through this period of the next, who knows, couple years, and things will turn around, and we'll get. I don't know if we'll get back to where we were, but I think there'll be a little bit more optimism, once some of this debt is worked down. But we are seeing a pretty strong demand still in energy projects. The way the price of the barrel is right now is meaning that projects are getting funded, both for oil and gas. I think we've got a year or two or so to go to see where this is all going to play out. But right now, a little bit of uncertainty still on the sidelines.
I think that you're right about that. We're just waiting to see. But I personally, again, is my opinion. No matter who gets elected, I think that they're gonna, whoever it is going to weather the storm, and probably in the next couple of years, it's start looking better regardless. Because things go into a cycle.
Right, absolutely. And again, whether it's a new administration or a second Obama administration, my guess is that party's going to come out with some new initiatives, some new funding, and try some new things. Clearly we've seen things that haven't worked with the economy, and I think that we're going to get a little shot in the arm, and hopefully we'll find some new areas. I'm also hoping that they're going to unleash entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have faced higher costs over the last, 5 to 10 years maybe. We've seen more regulation, and I think some of the government spending has cut into the available resources that entrepreneurs can get. Banks have been reluctant to loan. So hopefully we're going to get back to a point where small businesses can grow and prosper, hire more people, and go. But I think there are going to be a few structural changes needed before we're back to the go-go days there. But I really think small businesses, have been and can continue to be the driving force of this country if we let them do what they do best.
Well, I think that is the key thing, because this country, the United States, was built on business growth. Being innovative, manufacturing, and a lot of these things that I've seen over the past decade, little by little have subsided. You had the .coms, we still do. Whether it be Google, Facebook, in tech, you have Apple, you have a lot of innovative companies that have very well. But we need, the government needs to actually take a step back and allow these companies to actually flourish. And the only way they're going to do it, they're not going to do it by increasing taxes. I don't think that's going to work. I think they need to create opportunities for these small businesses.
Right. And, I'm also seeing among small businesses a trend where they're doing more barter. They're trying to do more equity for services. I've seen several examples of alternative currencies. For instance, I'm involved with a little incubator that's trying to attract small businesses to the town. And whereas the town itself doesn't have a lot of money, they've come up with this alternative currency concept where they're giving credits to investors, to the entrepreneurs, where the entrepreneurs can use those credits in that town to, get an apartment, get food, hire an attorney, hire an accountant. And the thinking in the little town is that if they can nourish these companies for maybe a year or two, give them a place to work, then at the end of the year or two, these little companies will be able to maybe go out and get some venture capital or get some investments from investors. They will have advanced their business plans so they're more credible. Maybe at that point there'll be some bank money available. But I'm really seeing a lot more creativity on the part of these little communities that are trying to attract entrepreneurs that don't have a lot of money. And I think there could be a future in some of these alternative currencies that have popped up.
That's interesting. Now, you're working with some of these incubators, Brian?
That's right. There are a lot of incubators. Well, I don't know about a lot, but there's probably several dozen technology incubators around the country. Some of them are, private partnerships. Some of them are purely private. Some give funds directly to entrepreneurs. Others do services in exchange for equity. But I think this alternative currency idea is really interesting. A lot of this started, I believe, with the Berkshire Bucks in Berkshire, Massachusetts some years ago, where they actually printed a bill. And nowadays, more of that is online. So, for instance, at community-exchange.com, it's really an international system of credits that companies and individuals can tap into to, get credit that's not denominated in a fiat currency. And I think it's a really exciting development for those companies that are trying to bootstrap and get something done. And I think will be the future of, this economy and hopefully the world.
Well, I guess you think is what they're doing. They're opening up doors and giving opportunity to these really ultra micro companies to give them a shot of becoming a success.
Right, that's right. And, I don't need to tell any of your listeners what the Internet has done for small businesses, but obviously they've got a worldwide reach, and as more and more people come online around the world and more people feel comfortable with the Internet, and there are more payment systems and mobile payment systems, more information, it's just really opening the world to consumers. And, again, the idea of the long tail, you don't need to have too many customers in one place to make a decent business. You can ship a product or service around the world, and you can exploit niches a whole lot easier than we ever could when you and I were young.
Oh, yeah, no, there's definitely no doubt about it. The Internet has made the world a smaller place, allowed for, small business to actually work as a big business by utilizing, their reach, okay? And, a small business can actually reach to someone in Istanbul and do business with them, where normally, maybe, back in the early 90s, you wouldn't be able to do that. Very difficult.
Right. And, Louis, another thing I've heard a lot about this year in 2012 is crowdfunding. You probably get a lot of that, too. But the regulations are still somewhat in flux. The SEC, I don't think, has finalized those regulations. But when they do, and investors are going to find it easier to access investments online, do due diligence, check out the backgrounds of folks, I think that's going to open up a lot of avenues for new investment among early-stage companies. So my fingers are crossed that these crowdfunding initiatives get solidified after the election, and we see some money going to some good, worthy early-stage companies.
And that crowdfunding, it's been in discussion for some time. I know the Wall Street Journal had an article about it. I actually spoke to them when they were writing the article. Not that they took my quotes for it, but that's okay. But, crowdfunding, it's interesting. Because I believe with crowdfunding, you don't need to have an accredited investor. You don't have to be an accredited investor to invest in a company. People, small business owners can actually use social media to market it, where now it's kind of, you really can't do that. So there are a lot of things at disposal, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's pretty much what I've seen.
Right. No, you're exactly right. And, of course, the devil's in the details. The FINRA-registered firm, there's certainly a lot that we have to comply with. And when you start offering investments to non-accredited, it's a touchy subject, because you certainly want to make sure that there's suitability done and that it's appropriate, and people aren't putting too much of their equity into one deal, since, there's a lot of risk with them. So, I think it's going to be a real minefield there of the securities laws, but hopefully we'll get some clarity soon, and that'll be an opportunity, because you're seeing with Kickstarter and a lot of these deals where people can either do early stage kind of donations, if you will, or give money to companies for very worthy ideas, and, there's some film sites. I think those are great. In that case, they aren't really investors. They're people kind of making a donation. They're not looking for a monetary return so much as a return in kind or a return to society. But I think when you go, pure profit motive, I'm sure the regulators are going to have their say in that and know how to police it and how to make it good for everybody. So I'm hoping it's not a bubble that pops, but rather that's one that, really benefits society and can take us to the next level, because we're just seeing such incredible technologies coming out of universities and garages that, again, the more money we can get for these early stage projects in general, I think that's going to be the driver of the engine of jobs creation going forward.
Oh yeah, I agree with you, Brian. Because you do have a lot of young, talented people that are, they're in the middle of their education, and they're at a tech school. I don't care where it is. They're there and they're looking. They have a thought, they have an idea, and how do you execute on it? You look at companies that, like Facebook, like Zuckerberg. When he did that, they just went and did it. What the details as far as who did what and where, it's not my concern. What it is that it was in college that aspired to do something and had an idea and really pushed it, and that's what we see now. And it's happened with a couple of companies. So yeah, giving that opportunity, to these young minds that have their fingers on the pulse of technology in the future, okay, and giving them the opportunity is the key thing. We have to embrace that.
Absolutely. And, going along with this theme of reducing costs and trying to do more with less and bootstrapping, I'm seeing more people spending more time in the country and in smaller towns and in lower cost areas. Younger people aren't as desirous of maybe jumping into the real estate market with a big house or a new car. I think they're doing a better job of investing what they have, for their future, keeping their living costs down, not getting on, some of the debt trains that perhaps our generation got on some time ago. And I think it's a real sensible approach to try to watch costs. And, kids are coming out of school with such great education these days that, we didn't dream of, and just cutting-edge knowledge. And I think to the extent that they can continue to watch their costs, conserve their pennies, and invest where they can, I think they're going to find some incredible niches. Look what's going on with, biotechnology and the advances continue in IT and other areas that I think still a lot of opportunities out there. But, again, we've been cash constrained for the last 4 or 5 years, and I think people are just learning to do a lot more with a lot less.
And that's good, because if you can do a lot more with a lot less, that means when things do occur and you start creating solutions, your profit margins are going to be that much better, because you already learned how to cost cut and how to do stuff on a shoestring budget.
Right. That's true. And, I think, again, maybe with our generation, we tended to kind of quickly go into more corporate jobs and, fill those cubicles, and more young people I'm seeing are saying, listen, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do my own thing. I'm going to take some risks, keep my costs down, maybe, postpone a family a little bit longer, and try to make it. And I think, with the fewer number of jobs out there, it's a great time to get out there and try things. A lot of niches are opening up. A lot of the baby boomers are starting to retire, and I think there'll be some exciting businesses that will follow in their places.
Well, I think that this is the time where we're going to see a lot of magic happen. Okay, we've seen it before. We're going to see it again, and I just hope that the involvement of government is to help to allow innovative ideas to fall into play in regards to finance. Okay, and these companies finding an easy road to get finance, because I think government, as the SEC and the regulators, they're so concerned about fraud after everything that transpired. Madoff was a cherry on top of everything. Things have been happening for a while, and I think that they're afraid of that occurring again. But you can't add more government regulation. It just makes it harder for business to grow. And again, that's my opinion, but I think it's harder.
Yep. And I'll tell you, it's also amazing to me to see when you look at the self-reliance and people trying to do more with what they have, some of the, rooftop gardens coming up in New York City, people farming small plots in urban areas, selling some of their produce to the local restaurants. I was at a restaurant the other night that only buys its, food sources within 100 miles. And, I think, again, it's the whole theme of doing more with less. People are getting creative, taking more of the destiny in their own hands. And I think, some of the urban gardening trends is one manifestation of that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big thing. I know, the biggest rooftop garden, organic garden in the United States, lies in Long Island City, New York. Okay.
Wow.
In there, and great place, great situation they have there. And I think more of those rooftop organic gardens are going to continue to flourish. And that's just one thing. But it has to do, and you hit the nail on the head, doing more with less. Okay, and then that's a big thing. Now, Brian, you're working with a few companies now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a focus on geothermal, as I mentioned, some energy exploration and production. We've got another company that turns waste into electricity to sell back into the grid. So a lot of interesting energy projects out there. And a lot of these companies, as I say, probably half of them are stage private companies, and a bunch are earlier stage microcap public companies. Have very interesting prospects for the future, and we're just trying to help them, move them to the next stage. One of the ways we get them out is through this private equity conference that we host at the Yale Club in New York a couple times a year. The next one is November 29th, and, it's a way to get early-stage companies together with people that could help take them to the next level.
Okay, now these private companies, that you have, I guess you introduce them to your accredited investors, that you think may have an interest in getting involved?
Yeah, that's definitely a piece of it. That's probably the last piece. But, building up to that is trying to help them get with the right business professionals, make sure they've got, the good legal team, a good accountant and or auditor, who's writing the business plan, who's doing the marketing plan, how's their PR. You try to line all those dominoes up just right, so when you're ready to push them over and start looking for investment, you've got things outlined, and it tells a credible story, one that the market will buy. But again, I think with the right preparation, sometimes companies go off a little too fast, and they stub their toe and maybe don't meet their financing goals. So I think that preparation is real important. We help with that.
Well, that's what they have you there for you to help mold not only their business plan, but their entire business, and also looking forward, because you have to have a plan looking forward 5 years, 10 years, whatever the outlook is. You got to have something there, and you have to be able to adhere to it. And that's what they have you there for, to help them to do this, right?
Absolutely. And we'll help with some of the competitive intelligence because, niches are filled instantly these days. So if someone has a great widget, it might be great today, but tomorrow, there might be a bunch of competitors there. So we try to look at the macro picture and see who else is out there. What are the other technologies that could be coming into this niche? Are they domestic? Are they foreign? What could blindside a management that has its head down, working hard every day in the trenches? And I think it's important to, we're not necessarily going to put in the 25 hours a day to help them build a widget, but we certainly can give them some broad advice and try to look out a little further and help them tweak what they're doing so that they don't, spend all their time going down a cul-de-sac that just won't pay out.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that any private companies that that are out there that may be looking for this guidance, I think that Starlight Investments is definitely a company they should actually look to because you can actually help them to reach their goals.
Thanks, Louis. You're very kind. We've got a bunch of information listed on our website at starlightinvestments.com, and we certainly welcome people sending us business summaries or, have questions about what they're doing, and more than happy to help guide people. If there's something I can't do directly, hopefully I'll have somebody in my Rolodex that can help them move forward and accomplish their goals.
Okay, and it doesn't cost them anything to submit their business plan, does it?
Not at all. I spend, I'm sure, hundreds and hundreds of hours each year trying to help early-stage companies get with the right partner, that I can't help directly, and that's, kind of what goes around comes around. I get a lot of great referrals, too, so it's getting the right people in the right places.
Okay, good. I mentioned that because I know over the years I've seen companies come around that have they made a decision to charge people to look at their business plan, which I think is a joke. And that's why I want people to understand that you're there to genuinely help them, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because your insight, to the micro cap and private sector is key to these companies that are up and comers. They're looking. They can be the next big thing. That can be the next Apple or the next, whatever. If you are trying to make all this happen. I think that's fantastic.
Well, and again, I can think of a lot of ways I stubbed my toes when I started off, and sure wished I had a mentor or someone looking over my shoulder to give me a little advice. And we try to help put them on the right track and get them with the right folks, because a little advice could go a long way for someone who's just starting out. That's really maybe they know their technology very well in their space, but outside of that, they're a little bit lost, and we all need help.
Yeah, no, and that's a good thing to do. And I have to say it again, private companies that are looking for that guidance, get in touch with Starlight Investments, StarlightInvestments.com, look up Brian Emerson and connect with him, because he does know what he's talking about. And now, Brian, you know I spoke, and I want to get your insight on this, because in a second we're going to talk about what's happening at the Yale Club. But what's your outlook on the market as a whole?
Well, I'd have to say again, I'm a little bit bearish. I'm a little bit negative on the next, year or two, as we hear about this fiscal cliff coming up. We've been printing all this money. Our markets in Europe certainly have been, tumbling. Japan has a huge, debt to GDP ratio. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty in there. Possibly a new administration or a second term for Obama. And I think until that uncertainty's gone and people see that there's a plan going forward that's credible and that can be sustained, then I'm bearish. I don't know that I can give you a number on where I think the market's going to be at a certain point in time. But again, it seems to me kind of frothy right now. We have heard a lot of earnings estimates coming down. I wouldn't be surprised if more come down using the cover of the storm right now in New York and the markets being closed for a couple of days. But I think they're going to tend to drift down for the next, possibly year or two, until we figure out, what's a credible way forward, and then maybe at that point we could test some new highs. But I think I'm bearish for the next year or two.
Okay, that's fair enough. I asked you what your outlook is on it, because I think everyone has a different opinion on.
Okay, we had a slight interruption. As I said earlier in the show, we had Brian Emerson on the show from Starlight Investments, and we actually we have some really bad reception because right now we're in the middle of a massive hurricane on the East Coast. So I'm trying to do the show the best I can. Money never sleeps, but we're continually losing power. So the next time I may not be able to come back on the show, but hopefully that won't be the case. But what I'm going to do right now is take a quick break, and hopefully we'll have our next guest coming on the show. We did a show the other day to benefit animal rescue, so I'm just going to run those commercials. I'm going to be right back with you guys in a few minutes.
You're listening to UCW Radio. In your face.
I like their size.
I love their texture.
Their shape. Feel. They complete me.
Big, small, it doesn't matter.
Yes, I like boobies.
Love boobies.
Yes, I love boobies.
Yes, I love boobies. I love boobs.
Most of us know someone who's been affected by breast cancer.
My friend. My piano teacher.
My sister.
My aunt.
My teacher. My two aunts.
My Aunt Rachel.
I beat breast cancer.
We can beat this together.
Show the world how much you care.
And join us in the fight.
Because it's more than just boobs.
It's life.
It's my great honor to present Chen Guangcheng with this Human Rights Award. Ladies and gentlemen, Chen Guangcheng. I have not been officially trained in the law, but one doesn't need to go to a special school to understand justice. No one with a conscience can stand by when innocent people are bullied and beaten until they bleed. That's why those called barefoot lawyers got our hands on law books and passed them battered from use, from person to person. We studied the rules so we could play by them, even while Chinese authorities ignore them. As I learn about the law in America, it is clear that Western lawyers operate on the notion that speaking up makes a positive difference. As you say here, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Despite all that he inherited, President Obama did not repair our economy. He did not save Medicare and Social Security. He did not tame the spending and borrowing. He did not reach across the aisle to bring us together. Nor did he stand up to China's trade practices or deliver on his promise to remake our relations with the Muslim world, where anti-American extremism is on the rise. What he inherited wasn't the only problem. What he did with what he inherited made the problem worse. In just 4 short years, he borrowed $6 trillion nearly, adding almost as much debt held by the public as all prior American presidents combined. Today we received, by the way, the latest round of discouraging economic news. Last quarter, our economy grew at just 2%. After the stimulus was passed, the White House promised that the economy would now be growing at 4.3%, over twice as fast. Slow economic growth means slow job growth and declining take-home pay. That's what 4 years of President Obama's policies have produced.
Dog's Last Chance, also known as Last Chance for Animals, conducts undercover investigations into the nation's most notorious dog dealers and puppy mills.
Here's the baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. You can do it. I love my baby. Okay.
The Special Investigations Unit, or SIU, gathers undercover footage and documentation which is used to prosecute perpetrators and help get animal-friendly legislation passed. The SIU's undercover investigations into Class B dealers, known for stealing pets and selling them to research facilities, resulted in the first felony conviction in U.S. history for an animal-related crime, first permanent revocation of a Class B dealer license, and the largest fine ever imposed on a Class B dealer. LCA's work is only possible through the generous support of people like you. Your donation will help keep LCA's investigators in the field.
Look at you. Hey, how you doing, huh? How are you, huh?
Hi, Sia here, the better half of the Barbie twins. Shane and I are here today protesting the pet shops because pet shops and internet are the ones that buy from puppy mills. And puppy mills are bad news. You don't want to ever get a puppy from a pet shop or the internet, because the puppy mills mass produce these poor little dogs day and night, year-round, heat, cold, it doesn't matter. They're outside in small cages, treated like property. They don't have names. They have numbers. They don't care if they're dying, malnutrition. They just mass produce until they get enough puppies to put in each of these pet stores or the internet. And these puppies end up sick because they're interbred with each other. They're malnutrition. You will end up with tons and tons of vet bills all the way. So please do your part. You can write your lawmakers, state and federal, to ban puppy mills. You can give information out to everyone to ban puppy mills by protesting pet shops that get these puppies. And about 99% of pet shops do, regardless of what they say, get their puppies from puppy mills. So it's a no-no on pet shops and internet.
You're listening to UCW Radio, in your face.
All right, welcome back to Money Never Sleeps. And again, I apologize for all the technical gremlins that are that are involved with the show tonight. But as I said earlier, I'm right in the middle of a hurricane, and so is millions of people on the eastern seaboard. We had Dave Gaudette and Sam Cademo from Orxo Homes that are supposed to be coming on the show, but I think that we've all had some issues tonight. So that's been the deal there. Before we bring on our next guest, I just want to say that New York Governor Cuomo and New Jersey Governor Christie, they've been doing an amazing job during this whole hurricane catastrophe that's going on. And as I'm speaking to you on the show, we're right in the midst of the heaviest part of it. So without further ado, I want to bring on David Breton of DJB Business Brokers on the show, so he can tell us what's going on in the great state of Florida and tell us what's going on in the business broking world. David, you with us?
I'm here, Lou. Nice to be on the show, and thank you for having me. I look forward to speaking with you for a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for coming on the show. You're going to give us some insight on what's going on in the Florida market, and also give us some insight on what's going on in the world of business broking, maybe brokering. Broking. We don't want business broking. We want business brokering.
I hear you. First and foremost, just prayers down in Florida go out to all you up there. You're getting hit pretty hard with that Hurricane Sandy. So usually we're the hurricanes down here, and you're the snow up there. So we dodged the bullet this time, but it looks like it's you're feeling down here in Florida very well.
It's hitting hard, my man, because right now as I'm on the show with you, because you have to go mobile on this, things are falling all over the place. The winds are like whipping, like banshees, okay, and you have water all over the place. So we're going to try to go as deep as we can with the show, and if we lose, because it's possible we can lose power again, which I think is going to wind up happening. So I don't want to keep you from speaking. So tell us what's going on with DJB Business Brokers.
Well, the things that we're seeing right now is we're just seeing a almost like a rise of the entrepreneur spirit. Entrepreneurism in general is, though we're biased as being in business, we do believe it's the foundation of what makes America and this country great. Small business accounts for a multitude of jobs, and it shouldn't be overlooked, even though it's not on the ticker tape of CNBC on a daily basis. Though there are a lot of small businesses that do end up getting publicly traded. But a lot of things that we're seeing right now are just I call it the going into the eye of the storm, for lack of better words. The average entrepreneur is at this time is overcoming unsurmountable odds as far as dealing with economic force winds and trends and compressing margins and lack of liquidity out there. But what we are seeing is companies that are streamlining and becoming very, very efficient in what they're doing. And on the good side of that is those that are looking to exit those businesses are seeing multiple premiums in the private market. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a definite good thing. And we spoke about it with our last guest with the entrepreneurial spirit and giving the opportunities, because right now, and then I mentioned this earlier, small business has been kind of deprived over the past 3, 4, 5 years. Okay, so what do you think is going to make things change at this point?
The biggest thing is there needs to be a loosening in the lending standards. There's a lot of most of in the business world. Most of the funding is coming through SBA programs, which are like SBA 7A programs, 504s, microloans. But what's a big misconception is the SBA actually doesn't give the loan. They are basically a guarantor to the local bank that's doing it. But a lot of real estate agents are also starting to see this, and I believe the National Association of Realtors were talking that they're looking for even tighter lending standards on going into the first as Dodd-Frank bill comes into full effect. So I think if we had to narrow it down to one thing, buyers want to buy, sellers want to sell. Everybody is agreeable on price, but it's the lack of financing at an easy level. That not back to the rah-rah days where anybody could get a loan, but it's almost like the pendulum has swung from one side too far to the other side too far. So we need to get back into that happy middle ground. And when it does, there's such a pent-up demand. I know that's a term that you're familiar with, in the Wall Street communities, but it also applies here to regular Main Street. There's a lot of people that want to do things, and they're capable with their 20, 30, even sometimes 50% down payments, but without the addition of seller-held financing, it's becoming difficult. So that's kind of, if I could nail it down to one caveat that will open the floodgates, that's it.
Well, I think that your background, David, you've done the spectrum of things from real estate. You were on Wall Street. You've done these things, so you can come to these groups. You can come to these individuals that are looking to do this. You can come to them with a different perspective on what is real and what is not.
Well, it does help. There's different financing levels that go on the larger companies. So in very, very simplistic and basic terms is having Main Street to lower middle market to actually publicly traded large cap companies. The avenue of financing or that spectrum is vastly different on the level of each of those companies. Your previous guest was mentioning about crowdfunding, and that I think is actually a phenomenon that is going to explode in competitors. And as competitors start to come to the field, there'll be more aggressive rates both to the lenders and to the borrowing public. So,
you think crowdfunding is actually going to spark these lenders? Once they have the ability to actually go and start opening up the floodgates, for them to capture that market they've kind of pushed away for so many years.
Absolutely. I was taught a very, very long time ago that try to you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but try to at least follow what the smart people are doing, and then at least it can make you look smart. But all jokes aside, there's there's some heavy names that are going into crowd funding, and even some of like the popular household names, Prosper.com, and basically peer-to-peer lending, and I mean this is a phenomenon that is just, though it's been around for almost a decade now. It's really starting to gain traction as it's almost being forced to the forefront, because it's the only alternative outside of seller-held financing for less than traditional financing that the banks are doing right now. Hello? Hello?
Are you still there, David? Okay, we're having a lot of technical difficulties at this point on the show because of the reception and power going in and out. So I do apologize for that, and hopefully let's take we're going to take a quick break. We're going to try to get David back on the show. Okay, we're trying to make things work here with the show. We're going to try to bring David back on the show if we can. And again, I apologize again for all the communication difficulties, but the weather, we can't help here. So if you can just bear with me as we try to do that, to bring him back on. David, are you with us?
I'm here.
Yeah, I apologize, but the hurricane seems to be getting the best of us for this show.
I'm here. Okay. Hold on one second. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yeah. I don't know how long we're going to last, so I'm going to let you speak and let's get some additional information on what you do and how people can reach out to you, because we're going to bring you back on the show when the hurricane is all said and done, because
sure.
I want to get your input on not only small business and what's going on with crowdfunding, everything, but I also want to get your input on the elections. So
Absolutely.
next Monday, I want to bring you back on because we're going to be doing a special show on the elections and everything. So with that said,
hello, Lou. I don't know if you can hear me. But if you can, it's djbbusinessbrokers.com. Once again, that's djbbusinessbrokers.com. And they can reach me at 813-444-3600. 3521. That's 813-444-DJB1.
Okay, we are having some massive problems with communication due to the hurricane. Okay, so with that said, we're going to try again to see if we can just at least complete the show with David Breton of DJB Business Brokers. Okay, his his knowledge in regards to the small business market, and especially what's happening in Florida, is I feel it's going to be an asset to anyone that is actually involved in that sector. And again, I apologize for the choppy show, but this is way beyond my control as things are flying all over the place at this point. So we're going to try one more time to bring him on, but don't worry, we are going to have David Breton on next Monday as we have our pre-election special, and we hopefully will have David Gadet and Sam Cadimo from Oxo Homes out of Nova Scotia on the show as well to give us their insight to what's going on in the international markets as well. So you're not going to lose out on the insight that these gentlemen have to bring to the show. Money Never Sleeps. So we're going to try again to see if we can get past this communication glitch